we're going to be talking about Hypixel's new survey and how they are looking at possibly making migration compulsory for competitive games. Alright, so this morning I went to the NPC thing, the delivery man, and I noticed how it said there was a survey available. And I did a survey, and there were questions like, well, it started off pretty simple. Questions like, have you migrated your account yet? And another one that said, has Microsoft offered you the chance to migrate your account, which most people have at this point. But then it started asking other questions like, how do you feel if Hypixel made migration compulsory for competitive games? As well as another one that said, would you migrate if Hypixel made migration compulsory for competitive games? Now this obviously is Hypixel's way of finding out whether most of the Hypixel player base would be fine with a migration requirement for competitive games. I'm basically going to be talking about why Hypixel would be wanting to do this, as well as what kind of impact this will have on the server. Now obviously everyone is going to have to migrate eventually, however this is just looking at the next few months to possibly year until Mojang actually makes it, well, you have to migrate now or else you can't play. Currently they're allowing you the option to migrate, but you don't have to. I was going to, but I haven't yet since I had a technical issue while migrating, so I contacted support and all of that because I don't want to get anything wrong with my account, since they said, oh, you will not be able to play, and some people are making theories about, oh, they might shut your account down or something. I don't think that's going to happen. I personally think they'll just not let you join Minecraft unless you've migrated, but I did contact them to make sure that any issues that I have will be fixed. So anyway, Hypixel is looking at making migration compulsory because it has a lot of benefits for Hypixel and Hypixel games. Hypixel actually has a lot of good reasons to try and make migration compulsory for Hypixel competitive games. And in one of my other videos from a while back, the end of Bed Wars sniping, I actually went over this migration and how it could really help Bed Wars and other games. Obviously, turns out I can predict the future, and Hypixel now wants to make it compulsory because it really does have a lot of benefits for Hypixel. So what benefits does migration have? You may have guessed from the title of my video, Hypixel making migration compulsory could eliminate a lot of snipers from most games. Currently in Bed Wars, there is a lot of sniping where people with high win streaks or high stats will get sniped by cheaters on ults, and basically how this works, I will just summarize this since I go into more detail on my other video. However, basically Hypixel, a lot of people, they go to these ult shops and they buy large amounts of accounts for very cheap prices. And this allows them to get hundreds of accounts where they can just cheat and use them to snipe players for a variety of different reasons. Now I did separate sniping into two different categories in my video, one being random sniping and the other one being targeted sniping. Now obviously migration will really help the issue with random sniping, because the way random sniping works is that a sniper will just queue into Bed Wars games and snipe people they find with high stats. Obviously for this you need lots of ults because many are going to get banned and you're going to keep doing this. However, with the requirement of migration, Hypixel or Minecraft accounts will need to be linked to a Microsoft account, adding two-factor authentication and all of those different safety measures, which prevents ult shops hacking into accounts and getting many of these accounts for such cheap prices, as it adds a layer of security and it makes it much more inconvenient for snipers to gain access to these ults. Targeted sniping unfortunately will still continue to some extent because there will always be people who are driven by the need to end people's win streaks, and they will actually probably make real accounts with real Microsoft accounts to snipe them. Obviously this isn't that hard because of Hypixel's anti-cheat and how it works. I went into more detail on this in my video that came out yesterday, which you can watch that as well. However, basically because of the way Hypixel's anti-cheat works, targeted sniping will still be an issue, although it will be reduced. As you can see, this has major impacts for Bed Wars. If sniping is mainly eliminated, this could dramatically impact the game as well as the way win streaks are achieved. I still don't think this will allow win streaks like the homes to be made possible, however, they could certainly become much more common to get as close as well, their win streaks. It would make getting win streaks much more fair and much easier for everyone who tries to get them. Now, Hypixel did say competitive games would have this feature if it was implemented. Now, I still feel I'm not sure if it's going to include Bed Wars. While Bed Wars is a competitive PvP game, there is just such a massive player base that Hypixel might not actually do this. Hypixel will definitely implement migration into Hypixel tournaments, as well as games like Ranked Skywars that have a smaller community and smaller amount of players, but are extremely competitive and have a high volume of cheaters. In many games, including Ranked Skywars, this could be quite important and quite useful to making the games much more cheater-free. Games like Ranked Skywars that have for a long time been quite unfair and plagued by cheaters could now become games where everyone can enjoy, and games that have a very few amount of cheaters because of this new addition. Bed Wars would become a much more fair place and a much more easier place for competitive players to get win streaks and do really well because of the lack of sniping. This is obviously combined with the security benefit that migration has. A lot of the time, Hypixel accounts can get compromised, and that leads to a whole issue with Hypixel and compromised accounts, as well as a lot of controversy with 30-day bans. However, with migration, this scenario becomes much more unlikely, which makes it much easier for Hypixel as well as the player base of Hypixel. Migration really does not have many negative aspects, aside from having to make a Microsoft account if you don't already have one. Now, there is one major negative to this for Hypixel, which is that obviously a lot of people might not want to migrate currently until it becomes compulsory. If they implement migration when people do not want to migrate, this could kill the player base for a lot of their games, especially if they decide to implement migration into games that have a much bigger player base, such as Bed Wars or Sky Wars. This is why I think I'm not certain whether they will implement this into Bed Wars, but I am pretty sure that they will do something like this into Ranked Sky Wars or games that have a smaller community but have major cheating problems and are very competitive games. Obviously, they're trying to test the waters by finding out how many people will want to migrate to decide their next course of action, which is why they are doing the survey. It provides Hypixel a way to know how many of the people are actually going to migrate, how many of their player base would get isolated if they decide to implement the change when they didn't want to migrate, which really helps Hypixel visualize the numbers and make sure they make the right decision on whether they can make games much better and much more fair with this addition much earlier than, we'll say, Microsoft or Minecraft makes this change compulsory, as well as maintaining an active and consistently large player base. Overall, I really feel this is a positive change for Hypixel. Making migration compulsory for competitive games, and even some of the other games, could make these games much more clean spaces with less cheating and will make them much more fair. It'll make the game more enjoyable for a lot of players and make accounts more safer in the process. Obviously, Hypixel is trying to make sure this is a good decision because players may get cut off by this change because, well, some people do not want to get told what to do with a lot of things, not just migration. But that is basically it. Migration, making it compulsory, is a positive change for Hypixel, and I really want to make this video to show you all that this is not a negative change like a lot of people are making it out to be. Either way, I hope you enjoyed this small bonus video, I guess. We're still making my main upload on Friday 3 PM Eastern Time, while I will upload this sometime during the week as well. Thank you for watching, and let me know what you think about this change in the comments. I'll respond to every single comment as usual. Goodbye, and thank you for watching.